Welcome to your new life in the new year, folks. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. After you see this video, you're going to wonder if you're in the Twilight Zone, because we actually have a ton of stories that are just pretty much mind-blowing that we're going to go over in this video. Things that just make you wonder what is going on around you, folks. We got so much stuff to cover. We're talking about things going on in other countries that defy explanation. Closing down farms, filling schools with people that are not exactly from your country, just seemingly stroll right in and, oh, let's just let them stay at our schools. We'll have the kids go back home and they'll just do e-learning from home, while other people who are not from, of course, your country will get to stay in that school. Makes total sense, don't it? I've seen police stations with them in them. Now we're having power plants shut down to save the environment. We're having farms shut down to save the environment. We got so many things to cover. You're just not going to believe this, folks. We got things going on with JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. We have, of course, Americans spending like there's no tomorrow. They call it doom spending. We'll get into that. Let's just start with that one here. Let's start with Americans doing doom spending. That's the latest trend, folks. It's just like when you know you don't have any money left and you just like give up. You're like, okay, whatever. I'm just going to spend all this money and rack up this credit card. I don't even care anymore. I'm just going to do it. That's what doom spending is. Nearly all Americans are concerned about the state of the economy. Still, many continue to spend more and save less. Doom spending may be one way to cope with stress as economic fears mount. So instead of facing what's going on around you, you just decide, okay, I'm just going to completely ignore it and just start spending money like as if I have a ton of money in the bank when I have none. That's apparently what the latest trend is. And of course, this coincides perfectly with what I said. No one has excess savings now. In the new year, essentially most people's excess savings is gone. So now they're just turning over to doom spending, folks. And by the way, the things I've told you so far in the beginning of this video are actually nothing compared to the zinger story I got to tell you at the end. You're not going to believe it, folks. They're literally... They're talking like as if there is going to be literally a, zombie apocalypse, folks. Like we're going to be living in the Last of Us movie. A certain group is having, we'll call them forum, is meeting and are talking about a new, we're going to call it sickness, and they give it the name aptly X. Okay? Wow, that sounds great. Sounds really nice. And it turns you into, of course, a zombie, folks. This is not... like I said, this isn't the TV show The Last of Us or one of these zombie movies, but rather they're trying to say that this will actually happen in real life. Of course, some people are just laughing at this story. This is literally what they're talking about at their latest meeting. The World, of course, Economic, Forum, those guys, that's what they're talking about. We'll get into that story as well. It's super awesome stuff we're going to get into. First of all, I got to mention food supply, 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description. 3 months worth for $5.97. You're probably going to need this considering you're going to be living in either the Terminator movie or the zombie apocalypse Last of Us TV show, one of the two. So you might want to get it just in case, folks. Never know, right? And of course, you also could have one of these self-powered indoor space heaters and stoves, which comes with 24 cans of Instafire 6-hour canned meat, just in case you didn't have electricity for some odd reason. Great idea for a backup. Also, you could be able to use this for cooking meats in the garage. Keep your garage heated up as well. You could use this as basically a space heater there or in other places as well. Link is in the description. It's only like $169.55. And of course, this book here, The Lost Ways, How Your Great-Great-Grandfather Lived Without Electricity, How to Build a Cellar, Do Things Around the House Like They Did in the Old Days. Hundreds of pages illustrated. How-to for pretty much everything you need to know how to do. Recipes, everything you need to know. How to make a cellar, can stacker, how to build a fire, whatever you need to know how to do, folks. Link is in the description for that. Get the printed version. It's like $37 plus shipping. And of course, also my website. Soon here, it might look like this in your nearest airport or maybe a mall or something. Everybody running from what? We don't know, folks. Apparently X. I guess makes you kind of wonder why Elon Musk loves that X, for Twitter. Right? Makes you kind of wonder. That's from a movie as well, by the way. That's from the movie Cell with Samuel L. Jackson. At any rate, let's get back to the video. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Yes, this is indeed a business channel. I'm just talking about all the stuff they're literally doing. We're talking about an economic, of course, forum talking about that, folks. So yes, I think that's included in business talk, apparently. JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Citigroup risk losing. How much is that, folks? Hundreds of thousands, millions, billion, 24 billion. All right, so it's got a few zeros there. 24 billion as number of troubled loans erupt. These really big numbers, we see them all the time, folks. Makes you kind of wonder what's going on all around us. You know, our national debt in the 23 plus trillion. Optimism in the U.S. banking industry is being threatened by a growing pile of bad loans, putting pressure on the sector's biggest players. Bloomberg analysts say non-performing loans or loans to debtors that haven't made a payment in over 90 days rose to a combined $24.4 billion in the last quarter of 2023 for these four banks, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Citigroup. This is rather curious. So we're seeing a huge pile up of bad loans with regards to these banks. Obviously, you're going to have a lot of issues this year. We're talking about also layoffs. There's a shock poll I'm going to show you in a little bit here. It's pretty unbelievable, and a lot of people, and again, they just called it a shock poll. Shock poll. Just completely ignore this. It's really huge. Really huge. I'm not even sure how I'm going to title this video. There's so many things I could title it as. That's just one of the options. How about half the companies saying they're going to do layoffs? How does that sound? Almost half. Does that sound pretty good? Shock poll. I'll show you that in a minute here. Of course, also our wonderful overlords are telling us that giving 1,200, or actually, I'm 1,200, 1.2 million to be handed out with no strings attached as guaranteed income program launches in U.S. cities. So we're seeing this with Canada. We're seeing this with America. They're starting to do this, UBI, as they call it, programs to basically give money out, no strings attached. And Canada thinks this is going to save their economy. I'm going to show you that in a second. I don't know how in the world that is going to save any economy. Giving money out is going to save your economy. Okay, makes total sense. Programs designed to help people and families that are strapped for cash expanding across the U.S. at a rapid rate. A city in California is now set to give away over $1 million in free money to families via an expanded guaranteed income, of course, program. The expanded Long Beach Pledge Guaranteed Income Pilot is 1 year, $1.2 million program aimed at families with children, multiple income earners who are living below the federal poverty level. Well, you know what? That's interesting because that's going to keep growing the way they keep printing money. And it's a cycle. Okay, essentially think about the stimulus payments that they did back in 2020. And of course, we're paying with inflation for that. How is it that them giving out money is not going to cost taxpayers more and also cause inflation? Because they're probably going to print money to make it too, right? So if they keep expanding this, how is that going to get you out of anything? Canada is ramping up this. And this is what Justin says. Justin is saying that this is a great idea to solve the problems of Canada's economy, is to just basically give everybody money. And I really love this. Okay, let me show you this. Basic, of course, income is being considered by Canada's GOV. The Senate is studying a bill that would introduce a framework for a policy that would guarantee access to a livable income to everyone over 17. And of course, who is paying for this? Oh, it's just free money. It's just like free healthcare. Yeah, okay. You clearly don't understand how things work. Money has to come from somewhere. Either you print it, which means it's taken out of the pockets of everybody via inflation, or a taxpayer pays for it, or maybe you could do it through tariffs to other countries, but nobody wants anything from Canada, so that's not going to work out too well. This isn't going to solve anything. If anything, it's going to cause the economy to become worse. So I don't have a clue how Justin Trudeau thinks this is going to solve something. But they think it is. Maybe they think the robots are going to take over and do everybody's work, and then they can just pay everybody an income. But that doesn't make any sense either, because why would they keep paying you to sit at your home and eat Cheetos while robots do work for them? Do you think Jeff Bezos is going to pay you any money for replacing you with a robot? He might pretend like he's going to do that. He might do it for a few weeks, and then just mysteriously the paycheck stops coming. Like, you're sort of a useless, eater. We don't need you anymore. We got a robot here named Joey who's just does quite a good job replacing you. Why would we need to pay you any money? There's no reason. And of course, our wonderful Fed is telling us that we're going to have a soft landing. Really interestingly, of course, as you can see here with this graph, federal receipts, every time they claim there's a soft landing, it becomes hard, as you can see many times in the past. As you can see in 2008, oh, that looks kind of familiar. Oh, look, it almost looks the exact same. That's kind of weird. That's so strange. I thought it was like everything's great and it's a soft landing and our economy's awesome. You know what I mean? When actually in reality, we have this wonderful poll here. Whopping 38% of companies say they'll likely have layoffs in 2024 for several reasons. Survey shows. But of course, the job numbers are up, according to our wonderful Prez. Our dear, leader. He's such an awesome guy. Knows everything about everything and anything, folks. He's a great guy. Come on. You got to... I'm joking, of course. At any rate, you get the point. So, it doesn't look very good. We have a number of companies, pretty much almost 40% of them out there saying they're going to do layoffs for multitudes of reasons. And of course, we're already starting to see them. Duolingo lays off workers as it leans on AI tools to carry out more tasks. Oh, that's kind of weird. It's almost like AI and robots are replacing us. And then they want us to just be, what is this basic, of course, income for, folks? Is it really to pay you for sitting at home and doing nothing? Or is it to make you feel not so concerned about AI and robots coming in and taking your job? Don't be concerned. We'll just pay you anyways. Oh, that's a great idea. I'll just sit at home and eat Cheetos. Yeah, that's not going to work out too well. Or you really think that Jeff Bezos is going to keep paying you, dude? Or Jeff Bezos is probably the worst example. I mean, what did he give out, 2 years ago on Christmas? He had a raffle on Christmas for workers working on Christmas, and only one person won this, by the way. It wasn't like everybody got this. They won a sandwich and a bottle of water and some chips. This was literally the raffle on Christmas. What a giving guy, man. I mean, come on. One person got a sandwich, a chips, and a bottle of water, winning a raffle for Christmas at Amazon working on Christmas. I mean, I don't know how much better of a gift you could give. I mean, honestly, that's so awesome, dude. So, as you can see here, Twitch as well, Amazon, speaking of Amazon, Bloomberg, Amazon's Twitch to cut 500 employees, about 35% of staff. Probably replace them with AI tools, of course. Global economy set for the weakest half-decade performance in 30 years, World Bank expert answers. Yes, indeed, folks. Looking quite well here in the economy. Completely ignore this guy here at the World Bank. He doesn't know what he's talking about, but our wonderful Prez does. I'm completely being sarcastic there, folks. The fact of the matter is, even this guy's telling you it's not good. The World Bank guy's telling you it's not good. So clearly something ain't right, folks. I mean, goodness gracious, right? So, and we got a lot more to cover, actually. What else do we got here? We got so many awesome things. We have, well, I wouldn't say this is awesome. We do have some awesome stuff to cover, but this is not awesome. Unfortunately for Maine, Portland, Maine, some not so nice weather. And, of course, a state of emergency was declared in Maine. And, of course, we have seen now that people can't afford housing in 2023 and 2024, and especially home insurance, especially for something like this. Natural disasters get worse, so do home insurance premiums. We've seen them go up to an insane level in Florida. Now they're actually trying to make it to where it's going to be just a universal type of insurance for everybody. They're actually talking about that in Florida now. And I'm really kind of curious how that's going to work out. Extremely expensive home insurance premiums in Florida due to hurricanes and things like that. And I'm trying to basically nationalize it or something. You can see here a historic landmark in Maine was washed away in flooding. So essentially Maine having a lot of issues with weather of recent. This is weird. That's a game. Okay, never mind. So you got that. And like I mentioned, Homes are very unaffordable currently for most people. The average American can't afford a new home due to the high levels, the high mortgage rates. And of course, the prices are coming down. But, I mean, the mortgage rates are so high still that most people can't afford it. So, obviously, it's not looking good for that sector. And we're seeing a lot of bad loans with office loans as well, because a lot of companies just don't want to have the office space if they can save some money here or there. U.S.-owned cargo ship near Yemen hit by something as fears grow. Something may spread there, folks, a conflict of some sort in the region and the Red Sea. So we have now, as a result of what's going on, like I said, man, this guy who's running the show currently here in our wonderful country is doing pretty much everything you can do wrong. Every single movie he makes almost is wrong. I mean, there's probably 1 out of 100 things he does right. I don't know. But it is pretty ridiculous at this point. I don't know how you could do worse than him. I don't think it's even possible. Honestly, this guy is messing up everything, including WARs left and right in other countries. We have the Yemen issue right now, which, by the way, we were turning that into almost a WAR. We got the Middle East. We got everything. Just think of it. I mean, they're even talking that China could be next, folks. And, of course, now U.S. freight rates go up 70%. Everything we're doing, the pipeline, what was that, over a year ago, right? The pipeline that mysteriously just went like that in the middle of the ocean, that caused costs for heating and things like that in Europe to go skyrocketing, which, by the way, is what drove down Germany's economy and put them in a recession, although they've marked up the numbers. I thought I covered that. Did I? I didn't even cover that, did I? I thought I had it open. Maybe I don't. Essentially, Germany marked up their numbers to make it look like they weren't in a recession. Did I? I must have skipped that somewhere. Where did that go? I don't even know where it went. At any rate, they were negative two quarters in a row, and they decided to round it up to 0 on the last quarter because it was negative 0.1% or something. So they rounded it up to 0 so that they could claim that they weren't in a recession. But it's because of those insanely expensive rates, and now we're seeing freight rates going up. So you got natural gas costs go up. Everything's going up in cost. You got freight rates going up because of what's going on over there. All this stuff is not solving anything. And it's not for you and I. Clearly, it isn't for our country. It isn't for you and I. It is for those who are up there at the top who don't, of course, care about you and I, folks. All they care about is maintaining where they're at. If that means you and I lose something, they don't have a problem with that. But at any rate, of course, also we got some other stuff to talk about really quick. We have some really bizarre things going on with those that are not exactly legal, of course, in our country. New York City just required, of course, kids out of their school to house, of course, those that are not exactly legal, folks. Yes, indeed. It will soon be something required everywhere, apparently in that part of the city. That's awesome. They're also doing it in Massachusetts as well. Well, that's great. Wow. What awesome stuff is going on around us, folks. And they're also trying to make it so they can get work permits. What in the world? So this is hilarious. I mean, it isn't hilarious, but I mean, it is hilarious if you like to laugh at, essentially everything falling apart around you. But then, of course, the last thing I wanted to cover really quickly was this wonderful new, of course, sickness. We're going to call it X, because that's what they're calling it, folks. And the wonderful World, Economic, of course, Forum decided this was a super important thing to talk about. They're talking about the new one coming. The new one, folks, the new one. And this one, of course, is going to be worse. This is what they're telling us. 100%, mortality, and they're talking about your brain. Something happening in your, with, of course, your brain. And then your eyes kind of go white and then like this. I'm not joking. This is literally how they describe it. I am not joking. You're like this. You're going to be basically, it sounds funny, but this is what they're talking about at their latest meeting. And when they start talking about this, things start happening, right? So we're talking like I said, what's that? The Walking Dead show? The Walking Dead, okay? Or The Last of Us TV series? This is what they're talking about. This is what they're talking about, folks. They're literally saying there's going to be some brain thing, and you're like, and your eyes will go white. You just like imagine someone walking around. Like, I'm laughing right now, but you know what? You're going to watch this video in like, 5 months, like, oh, that was real, man. What are you doing? I mean, seriously, this is ridiculous, but this is the stuff they're talking about right now. And every time every time they talk about something like this, something happens. Did you ever notice that? It's kind of weird. Of course, they're doing wonderful, experiments on various types of animals and stuff, I guess, to make these things. I don't know what's going on, man. I don't know. Of course, also, I'm hearing other things. I talked about, in the last video about a Miami mall. You remember that whole thing, right? With creatures, dark creatures that people are talking about. Apparently, Lockheed, the company, Lockheed Martin, apparently had their own secret retrieval program for, of course, unidentified, objects. Apparently. So, like I said, after you watch this video, you're going to wonder if you're in the Twilight Zone. I told you. And am I correct or am I correct? And there's also more, by the way. There's actually more. In Europe, they're getting rid of farms to save the environment. This literally makes no sense. So, okay, let's get rid of farms to save. We're going to get rid of the animals to save the environment, folks. Makes total sense. I thought we were saving the planet for the animals. Apparently not. So also they're shutting off power plants in Europe as well in the middle of the winter. Okay, this makes perfect sense. Like, what are you doing? This makes no sense. And of course, my background is power plant technology. I was a mechanical engineer. Power plant technology is what was one of my thematic studies. One of my focuses. My other one was design, and I ended up going the design route. I was working at a semi-truck company designing semi-trucks. But I find it kind of hilarious because I know a lot about power plant technology. They're extremely clean. They put scrubbers on everything. It's very, very low NOx and hydrocarbons. In some cases, what comes out the other end is cleaner than what came in in the beginning of it. Like I worked at this paper and pulp mill. The water actually came out cleaner on the other end than when it came in. So them closing down these farms makes literally no sense. Them closing down power plants makes no sense. Okay, but they're saying that they're saving the environment by doing this, folks. Yeah, okay. So now you have less meat. You have more expensive electricity. This is so weird how it fits in perfectly with what he said. The bald guy said, you own, of course, nothing, and at the same time, be happy, folks. How are you going to be happy? Because you didn't get that, okay, I'm going to stop there. Anyway, I'm kind of wondering what some of you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.